And we're back. Perfect. Now, the next session will be about artificial intelligence. But again, it's not going to be the usual AI does everything for you, but it will rather address the true cost of artificial intelligence. I have the pleasure to invite again on stage Bissmeyer from Viamedici, and this time he will be joined also by Jürgen Müller, the CEO and co-founder of Viamedici. He has a background in engineering and management consulting. He's a visionary entrepreneur with deep technological expertise, with a long track record in the IT industry. I look forward to have them on stage with me. Hi, Jürgen. We can't see you yet. Hi, Al. Long time no see.
Hey, Pio, how you doing?
Very good, very good. How about you?
Doing great.
Great session, by the way. Jürgen, we can see you.
Yes, now it's good.
Now we can hear you as well. Perfect. Welcome on stage. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You?
Fantastic. It's the marathon. What can be better than that?
Right.
Very good. So I remember that we talked a few years ago about AI is not a silver bullet. So from that back then, we established a sort of a look at AI that is not all roses and flowers, but it's more of a critical look that tries to isolate the hype from value and examines all the potential as well as the risks that are connected to it. So the topic of today is the cost of AI. And let us begin with this question. What is the cost of AI?
Yeah, well, I think that's not an easy to answer question, as it simply is several areas where you have some costs involved. So, of course, we all know that there are significant benefits. This is why we are all doing it. This is why AI is simply absolutely everywhere. But, of course, it definitively also comes at some costs. And, this is really, I would say, if you kind of structure it a little bit, then, and we maybe don't go into the details that just developing AI is huge effort and all that stuff, huge infrastructure needed and so on. So this is one part. But I think I would like to focus more on some other topics like compliance, security topics, ethical, social topics, risk management, security topics. I think we should also discuss this a little bit. So this is very important. And of course also environmental, so energy consumption, etc. Because here it's also not for nothing. So this is really quite energy intensive to use and to work with AI.
Indeed, I mean, the energy doesn't come from the sky just like this, and there is such an enormous need of it nowadays. Do you have any figures connected to the let's say the expense of running AI from an environmental perspective?
Yeah, what I can give you is so of course it largely depends on what exactly you do. So running AI, the cost and also the environmental cost for running AI really largely depend on the complexity and size of the model you're using. It depends on the infrastructure you're using. It depends on what exactly you do with it. So how many tokens are involved and all that stuff. So this makes a huge difference. But to give you some basic figures, so the energy consumption, we just compare an average maybe ChatGPT request. This is what everybody knows. If you take a smaller, more compact model, more focused, then it's significantly less. But if you use such a very large language model like ChatGPT, then I would say on average it's one request is approximately 100 times the energy consumption than a normal Google query. And that's quite something. And it can be even more. I would say a medium complex request is around 100 times that, but it can be more. So just assume that AI is now getting part of everything, especially also coming back to these basic things like search. Here you also see that all the vendors also kind of involve AI to some extent, independent of whether it's some larger software applications or if it's the large cloud services or whatsoever. So it's always a little bit part of it, and it always drives the energy consumption. So that's absolutely clear. Yeah. And energy, energy always has, at least today, we are not in a zero footprint energy situation today. So energy has a significant footprint, and it also has significant direct costs in terms of money. And this is what we see. So this is 100 times approximately the also footprint compared to not using AI when it's about a single request, like a search request. Of course, then you need to compare with what is the benefit, and it's then weighted somehow.
Yeah, that's the thing, because there is the benefit is enormous. It's perceived as enormous. So is there really a solution to this?
I think that, go ahead. I was going to say, I think the solution is actually to kind of look at the cost benefit that's associated with what you're doing from an AI perspective. And what a lot of companies are doing is they're bringing together the finance team, the marketing team, the engineering team to actually assess the actual initiatives that they're working on from an AI perspective. McKinsey just published a very interesting article about the cost of AI. And they actually had 3 different buckets and 3 different concepts that they put out. One was the taker, where you're just taking ChatGPT, and they attributed about $2 million for those types of initiatives. And then they had a shaper, which is actually taking external, kind of a RAG concept, bringing the information in and then modeling yourself. And that had about a $10 million price tag. And then they had your own homegrown AI and modeling, and that had a $100 million price tag that's affiliated with it. And so when you, and this goes back to what we talked about before with regards to AI not being a silver bullet, there are certain AI applications that are not, extremely data intensive and that do not, gobble up a lot of resources from a data center or cloud perspective, as well as from an energy perspective, like, for example, auto translation, language translation and localization. Those types of things are very defined. You can get a quick hit and a quick return. There are other things where you're actually doing things, whether it's an internal or external assessment of a specific category, where you want to get some information about something that can be very resource intensive. And when you look at the hidden costs that is associated with AI, as Jürgen mentioned, obviously there's the energy side, there's the data center side, but then you get into the data scientists and the actual folks that are doing the modeling and development of modeling. And so this also comes back to the things we talked about before is, what are you using? AI is a tool, right? So, I love to use analogies, and it's like, am I using one of these huge, super huge dump trucks or earth movers to move what I can move with a pickup truck? Basically really assessing what the data, the outcome, and the expectation is from your initiative, and what the data load is. And those are the types of things that companies need to look at, because a lot of people think, oh, I paid for the cloud, and then the costs end up stacking up and building up because you've reserved this resource to do an AI initiative, and it ends up costing a heck of a lot of time, not only in terms of the compute, but the idle time and what you've reserved for it and all these types of things. So there are a lot of hidden costs, and people need to really assess the return on investment and what they're trying to do with regards to these AI initiatives.
Absolutely. So we have an environmental cost, we have a financial cost. What are the other kind of costs we can address?
Yeah, well, Yeah, so again, coming back to the environmental costs and other costs, so just building also those data centers you need, this is definitely also a part. So these kind of initializing costs, so what we have available today is definitely not enough, and you just need to look at the share price of some of the companies that provide some equipment for those kind of data centers that really kind of extremely increase at the moment. So there's a very, very strong demand. So this stuff also needs to be built, which is definitely also quite some environmental footprint again, and costs in general. But besides those initial investments, development, infrastructure, all this stuff, besides the energy consumption, well, anyway, here I think again we are a little bit at the beginning, so there's definitely significant room for improvement later on. So if we say today, maybe an average AI request, ChatGPT request is maybe 100 times more energy than a Google query, then this can definitely be improved by more energy efficient data centers, by more efficient models, by caching. You can also kind of try to cache those activities, and by some other ways. So there's for sure also by scale. This will also reduce the average energy consumption per request. So there's definitely quite some potential from now to really improve it. And there's also already a tendency, for example, to go a little bit away from the super large models to more focused smaller models where it is appropriate, or go for a good mix. So we are at the beginning. There's definitely room for significant improvement. But besides those direct costs and environmental costs, I also really think there's also some consequences and also costs in terms of ethical and social costs. So again, coming from the more simple things like impact on employment and labor market. So this is definitely also something you should not forget. And I think this will happen fast. So just seeing how fast the usage of AI spreads around at the moment for more simple things and also some complicated stuff, but really it's simply everywhere, and every company is working on it, and it does have an impact. So it will simply step by step replace certain activities. This might also include some coding activities. So I was already mentioning in one of our earlier sessions and other topics that so we of course also have an AI developer team, and you just need to see how they work compared to other development teams, and they are working on AI models, etc. And of course they are also intensively use AI in order to create code and so on. So also here you will see something, and then of course bringing together AI and direct execution, so robotics, etc. This will result in even more possibilities to kind of replace things humans are doing today by just automatically doing it. So there will be significant impact. It will for sure also improve productivity overall again, like industrialization was a boost for overall productivity, so a huge boost. And then the automation in the manufacturing in a second step was also a huge boost for productivity, and we will see something like this here as well. But it always comes with a significant impact on the labor market, and it means it needs to be balanced somehow.
We have some questions here.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Another major cost, which everyone is missing, is the human cost. The actual cost for personnel is usually 2 to 3 times more than what was anticipated. And the idea is, we're going to get rid of these jobs, or we're going to be replaced in this type of thing. And over time, there will be efficiencies and it'll be cheaper. But at the front end, that's why it's so important to assess the project, the data pipeline, and kind of what you're doing. in order to optimize your effort, because when you start throwing data scientists and engineers and personnel to actually optimize a model, it takes a lot more energy than you thought it was going to take, and you end up putting a lot more hours and man time against it. And so your actual the personnel cost associated with this is significantly higher than what is initially anticipated. And that's a hidden cost that gets lost a lot.
Yeah. And actually, the question I can see here is related to this. How do we optimize the outcome with minimum investment in AI?
So what you do is you pick projects that are proven, in my opinion. You start out with various areas that you know, like, for example, auto translation is a good example, categorization, image image definement and recognition and labeling. Those are the types of things that Then they're done that. It's already available. AI is very good. It can go and assess and look at an image and categorize things and define things. Same thing with the translation. There are certain areas where it's a minimal risk, proven technology sets. Things are available. You can kind of go make it happen. Some of the other stuff, which is very exciting, and it's like everything else. Big risk, big return, or big loss.
Sure.
It's risk return type of ratio where you're sitting there and assessing that. And so there are certain areas where it might be worth it to take a gamble because you can, hit a home run. But if you want to go out and minimize your risk, I would go and work on AI initiatives that are proven.
Yeah. And there's another question here from Jakub. Can machine learning models focused on specific tasks be a better alternative than the big AI solutions in terms of costs? Absolutely.
In my opinion, yes. I go back to the dump truck, pickup truck analogy I used. What's the goal? What's the mission? How much am I moving? How frequently do I need to do it? These are the types of things you need to assess, essentially.
Yeah, so that's absolutely clear. So smaller, more focused models are more efficient than the bigger ones, and in the end, we will see where we are heading to. So at the moment, there is already a kind of trend in the industry. So also, improving the very large models even more requires even more data. So also, just training such a model is also a huge cost, huge effort. So it requires more and more data. It's getting bigger, more complex, etc. So there's already a tendency towards, where appropriate, smaller, more focused models that are simply significantly more efficient. But of course, not have simply a more specialized kind of application. Yeah, and maybe also a mix that you really have. So also the way we are doing it, we have actually our solution. We are providing an AI hub, and this connects to own AI services that are highly specialized. They are super efficient. They run directly in our cloud, but then we also connect to other services that are more general, and also the really big ones where it is appropriate, and the system decides where to put the activities to. So I think we are a little bit at the beginning here, but the super big models make them even bigger, and then have one model that does it all. I'm not so sure if this will be the final solution, but I also, well, maybe, but then we need to improve the way these models work.
Very good, very good. Well, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure talking about AI, PIM, MDM with you. And actually, I suggest everyone in the audience to check out our website. There is a series of sessions that we had with Jürgen and Al about the topic of AI, covering the future of work, ethical concerns regarding AI. So there's plenty of material that you can check out on our website. So thank you very much, Jürgen. Thank you, Al. Always a pleasure. And I will see you in the social lounge then.
Thanks, Pio.
Yes.